Hello and welcome again to Dad's Do Dinner, the next episode. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Today's recipe, we are going to be doing chicken katsu curry, which sounds very exotic, very scary, but my recipe today will hopefully show you that you can do it in about half an hour, and it's a great dinner that's becoming more and more popular. I know when I'm especially working in London, one of my wife's favourite requests is that I pop into a sushi bar and grab a katsu curry bento. So now you can do one at home. But the reason why I've decided to do katsu curry today is because of this scenario. Are you ready? Picture this. You come home. The kids are driving you mental. They want something for dinner that you don't, or you want something for dinner that they don't. Does that sound familiar? Well, this is a good cheats way of getting a really nice, amazing Asian dish whilst also pleasing the kids. So let's see if we can go for that. All right, ready to go? Great. So the first thing I need to do is let you into a little clue, which is if you're doing something for the kids as well, this is what we start with. Are you ready for this? It's very scientific. 3, 2, 1. Voila. Chicken nuggets. Look at that. That's right, I'm actually going to make a dinner for grown-ups out of chicken nuggets. Now I have pre-cooked these, but personally you don't have to, in my opinion. Literally put the chicken nuggets out on the tray now, get them in the oven for half an hour, whatever the packaging says to do, and get that on now, because they'll be ready by the time you finish the rest of your grown-up recipe. The other thing that you need to get ready as well is the rice, because we're going to put that on straight away. So let's go over to the cooker. So what I've done in here is I've put in a cup of rice per person and a little bit extra because we're greedy. And then the golden rule of rice is that you basically cover the rice in water and then you double the amount of water that, to the ratio of rice. So you've got a layer of water over the rice and then you double up. So that's why you'll see that I've got double the amount of water in this pan for this rice. Normally what I would suggest, if you're doing something like a chili con carne, rinse the rice first just to get rid of the extra starch molecules that are on the rice. That's what makes it quite starchy and quite thick. If you wash them first and then put it in the pan, same rule applies. It'll just be a little bit more separated and a bit more fluffy. But for chicken katsu, I'm going to be dead fancy and mould it so it looks great on the plate as well. So that's why I've decided not to wash it this time, so we keep all that nice lovely natural starch to make it a bit easier and a bit more sticky to mould together into a shape, which we'll do a bit later. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. You whack your rice on with a lid on, full heat, and off you go. You'll need to keep an eye on this every now and then, and that's because you'll see that the bubbles start to hit the top of the lid if you have a see-through pan. If not, you'll soon start to see the lid sort of do this as it starts to explode out of the pan. That means it's boiling. That's a good thing, and once it's started boiling, you're going to turn it down to the minimum heat on either a gas or electric hob. Okay, that's all we need to do with the rice. That's done. Remember, your chicken nuggets are in the oven. If you don't want to have chicken nuggets with this particular dinner, that's fine. You can use pre-cooked chicken, a packet of cooked chicken from the supermarket, or you can get a chicken breast if you're cooking for yourself, or however many chicken breasts you want. Get them in a dish, cover it with tin foil, whap them in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes, and again you can set it up no problem with cooked chicken. But today we're going to cheat and use a bit of the kids' dinner to make our dinner. So let's move over to here and have a look at our ingredients for our katsu curry today. I put 2 spoons out to remind me that I do need to use 2 spoons. That's because I'm quite simple. So we've got some salt, we've got some of our garlic puree. If you're not using garlic puree, I totally understand. That's because I'm dead lazy. You'll need 2 cloves of garlic crushed or minced for this particular recipe. I've got some ginger, I've got some honey. I'll come back to that in a second. Now this is what's going to make our dish really the main part of the katsu curry is a mild curry powder. As you can see, I bought this particular curry powder from Schmesco. That's right, isn't it? You can buy your mild curry powder from anywhere. If you don't have mild curry powder, see what's in your cupboard, because this is what's actually on the ingredients. Coriander, salt, turmeric, cinnamon, paprika, sugar, garlic, cumin. Did I say cumin? No. And yeah, basically it's just a much quicker and easier way to have it all in one done for you ready with all the spices mixed up, but you can get them separately. Just contact me at dadsdodinner@outlook.com and we can look at doing the katsu curry from scratch. But to be honest, it's so much quicker just using a pre-made mild curry powder. We've got some chicken stock. If you watched our sausage casserole recipe, the only reason why I've got 2 packets out is to show you that there's really no difference. You can use the cubed chicken stock, you'll need 1 of them, or you can use the liquid stock, and again you'll need 1 of them. I'm going to use the liquid stock because it's just a bit easier to mix up together into our katsu curry sauce, so I'm going to put those at the back to remind me not to use those. I've got some plain flour. Please don't use self-raising. Self-raising flour's got bicarb in it, which makes it rise and effervesce, so make sure you've got plain flour. Then on this side we have some optional ingredients. I've got some extra turmeric, and that's only because I really like that sort of tangy and curry flavour that you get from a takeaway, especially a sushi bar. So I've got some extra ground turmeric that we'll add to that list of ingredients. And then also I've treated myself to some of this, which is called sumac. It's from a supermarket, this particular one that rhymes with Mazda. It was dead cheap to buy, but you don't have to use this. This is a total optional extra. So if you're looking at me now thinking, who has sumac in their cupboards? I totally understand. This is just my personal preference. A dessert spoon of lemon juice will give it a nice tangy flavour too, but I'm going to use sumac today because I'm dead posh. Right, let's crack on with making our sauce. So we'll need a saucepan here, which I have pre-made. Not pre-made, pre-prepared. The size of the saucepan doesn't really matter. The only thing you will need is some oil in this pan, so don't be too scientific, just glug some oil in, not too much, but just to make sure you've got a decent amount of oil in the pan. I'm actually using coconut oil. It's solid at the moment at room temperature, but it'll soon melt when we start to cook it. Obviously, I know not everybody has coconut oil, and I'm not sure about allergies as well, but you can use a normal vegetable or rapeseed oil, not a problem at all. So let's get the ingredients in the pan. So we're going to need 1 stock, so let's get this in. So this is a chicken stock. If you don't have any chicken stock, please feel free to use vegetable stock. It's only because it's chicken katsu that we're using chicken stock today. I'm going to put in about 2 cloves of garlic worth of garlic puree. Again, you feel free to use the proper garlic if you wish. As you know, I am so lazy. Next we're going to put in some turmeric. This is a really, really pungent herb, so I really don't want any more than about 1/3 of a dessert spoon on here. In fact, it came out in a clump because it's probably got a bit of moisture in there to clump it up. That's plenty, honestly. So no more than 1/3 of a dessert spoon, otherwise it'll be quite overpowering. We'll put in some ginger. Again, same rules apply for ginger. It's a really, really potent root. So let's get about 1/3. I'm doing really well this morning, aren't I? Does this happen to you? Drives me nuts. You ready? This is how you do it. There we go. My wife's looking at me now like, oh dear, violent tendencies. I promise it's not. So let's get 1/3 of this dessert spoon with ginger and pop that in there. Right, the curry powder is what you'll need the most of. So let's count together. So this is your curry powder. You ready? So we'll need 1, 2, 3 heaped teaspoons. Okay, so that's your curry powder in. I want you to now put in 2 large pinches of salt. 1, 2. Oh, now I've just heard. Come and look at the rice. See how my rice is now boiling over and it starts to come out the side of the pan lid. So what we're going to do now is we're going to juice it to the absolute bare minimum heat. Lift the lid off for a second. Just let it calm down. Gets very excited, rice. The nice thing about this is because we haven't washed it, as I said before, all the natural starches that we left on the surface of the rice will now help me to just solidify and make the rice a bit more sticky than it normally is for something like I said, a con carne. But once it starts to calm down a little bit more, And we should be able to pop the lid back on, make sure it's on the absolute bare minimum heat. If you're using gas, a barely blue glow, please, because it really is so easy to cook. I haven't even bothered to stir that because I know it's quite versatile rice. People are so scared of rice, you don't need to be. It's that easy, honestly. Rice, double the water, brilliant, no problem. Right, I'm going to pop a bit of my sumac into our katsu curry as well. Again, about 1/3 of a dessert spoon is absolutely plenty, and we'll pop that in there. Right, now just 1 second of your time. The reason why I decided to do katsu curry is not because I had a major inkling to do it, mostly, well, okay, mostly because my daughter wanted chicken nuggets today, but also because I had this honey. And this is what's happened to my honey. Are you ready for a close-up? Does that look familiar to you? Yes. How many of you have got jars of honey that have gone from clear to this crystallized set honey? It happens to the best of us, don't worry. But the amazing thing about this dinner is that you can use these leftover curries, no problem. And just check your rice. That looks okay to me. Just make sure it's on the minimum. So we're going to put in some honey now. Let's count together. As I said, it doesn't matter at all that it's crystallized. So we're going to put 1, 2, and a 3rd one in, just for good measure. They're probably a level dessert spoon's worth of honey. So don't panic too much about having a heaped teaspoon. It's not a problem today. 3 level teaspoons will be absolutely plenty. Okie dokie. So we're going to do 2 things now. I'm going to rinse my fingers because I'm now covered in honey, and also I need to get my measuring jug ready because we're going to need some water. Okay. So there's all of our dry ingredients in, ready to make the sauce. This particular sauce now will make enough definitely for 3 people, certainly for 4 people. I'm going to use 200 ml per person, so there's 3 of us, 600, is that right? No, 3 times 2 is 6. Yes, it is. But I'm for a family of 4, use 800 ml of water. So I'm going to go with that because we're making a recipe for 4 today. Okay, so now I've got my water. What I'm going to do is make our paste. For this particular one, we've used sweet potato starch, and I've advised corn flour on previous recipes as well. For this one, we're going to use flour. This is so it doesn't look so see-through and gloopy, the sauce. So we're going to put in 1 heaped, 2 heaped, 3 heaped teaspoons. Teaspoons? No, dessert spoons. And pop them over there. Great. So now I'm going to put a bit of water into here so that we can mix up our flour and water mixed together. Make sure it's not all the way to the top as we've done with our previous recipes, and then the rest of the water just goes into this sauce. Okay, pop that over there. Okay, so we're going to shake up our flour and our water now. This is to make our thickening paste. For those of you who didn't get a chance to watch the sausage casserole recipe, which I recommend you do, the reason why we use flour is because flour is full of starch molecules that burst when heat is applied to them in the sauce. So that's what thickens up a sauce, basically. And the nice thing about this is that once you've shaken it up in your watertight container, you just pop it in, and literally this katsu curry sauce is ready to go. All right. Now, where did I put my spatula? It doesn't matter, I'll get another one. All right, bring your sauce over to the heat. Get yourself a spatula or a stirring spoon, and let's get going. So we need a full heat, and with any sauce that you add a starch in to thicken it up, you need to start stirring pretty much immediately as soon as this goes in. So you'll probably notice already that this has started turning into a really classic katsu curry sauce sort of colour. I just think the popularity of Asian food, especially Japanese food, is well, it's not even doubled, it's just completely changed exponentially. And I know with anyone who's had the privilege of going to London or to any major city now, there's so many of these pop-up sushi bars, and you'll find that the tubs that they have in the hot section are full of these sweet chili dishes or these katsu curries, and it's just so much easier to do it yourself, especially if you've got more to feed than just one person. Take a look at the rice. Can you see how it's already cooking so well? When you see those bubbles and water disappear, so I don't want to see any bubbles left at all, that's when you turn it off, and the rest of the water will absorb into the rice, no problem. And by leaving on the starch without washing it, we'll be able to make a fancy dancy shape to put on our plate in a bit. So let's continue with this sauce. The fat really in the form of the coconut oil is to give it some flavour. It won't prevent you, if you don't want to have it in, that's absolutely fine. It just won't be as silky as you would find with a normal sauce, but we'll crack on and see how we get on in here. As I said before, if you don't have any mild curry powder, do let me know, because a lot of the ingredients that we've used in previous recipes, like the chicken sheesh, also apply as well. So cumin is used in here, coriander is used in here. If you want it a bit spicier, feel free to add a teaspoon of dry chili in. Not a problem at all. We don't need this particularly spicy today, especially for a lunch dinner or in general, because we all know what happens when I eat chili. But anyway, let's see how this sauce is getting on. So thank you, glamorous assistant. So it's already started to mix in really, really well. Got nice colours, and we're using our spatula, so we're getting all of the extra bits from the side off the pan and into the sauce. I've had a number of people say to me, I actually went and bought a spatula because of your cooking programs, which I'm very flattered about, so I hope I don't start some sort of spatula revolution. This is very, very nearly done. The other thing that I did as well beforehand is I prepared some veg, so we'll look at that in a second. But honestly, if you don't want any veg, you just want rice, chicken and sauce, that's absolutely fine. If you do want veg, I can give you some recommendations of what we've had in a second, but it's not an issue. Now, the tricky thing now will be for me to stir and check this rice, but actually, see how the bubbles have stopped bubbling in the rice? Can you see that okay? That means it's done. So literally just turn it off, but keep it on the ring that you've cooked it on, and that will keep it nice and warm still for when you come to serve up in a minute, okay? This sauce has already started to thicken up, which is fantastic. You can see how quickly we can make a katsu curry, which is good in a way, because otherwise I wouldn't have had much of a recipe. Ha ha. We're getting there slowly, but good. Okay, this is thickening up really well now, so if we take a look at this, can you see how the liquid has changed consistency, so it's not splashing everywhere now? We're getting a really nice sort of silky smooth look to your curry sauce. It's very, very similar to the curry sauce that you might buy. I don't know whether it's popular down south, but for sure up north. When I was at college, I used to treat myself to some chips and curry sauce for lunch, and it was lovely. Very, very similar sort of consistency now. But you can see how it's become really nice and thick. Keep going until you see the sauce bubble, and then once we've finished doing our sauce, we're gonna just check that. See how it's bubbling now? That means it's done. Fantastic. So we're going to take that off the heat now, and we're just going to leave it on the side because we're going to reheat it for a couple of seconds, ready to serve up in a bit. Now it's time to get your veg on while you're still waiting. For this particular veg, what I've done is I've added in some onion, some red pepper. I've also added in some asparagus spears as well. a bit of oil in the form of coconut oil, but as I said, you can use normal oil and a knob of butter if you want to flavour it even more. I've added some dry coriander and about a clove's worth of garlic, and that's going to start cooking now. I don't want to cook these particular vegetables for any longer than 5 minutes, and the reason being is that overcooked veg for Asian food can get quite sloppy, so I'd really like to keep it as crunchy as possible, and it sort of keeps more of its colour in general. So let's try and time this for 5 minutes and see how we get on. And once I've got all of the oil covered over the onions, the asparagus and the red pepper as much as I can, and I'm going to leave this for a second and show you what else I'm going to put in. Okay, I'm going to leave that for a second there. So if you join me over here, I'm going to have a look at the other veg I'm going to put in now. I just bought a packet of bean sprouts for 49p from Schmaldi. So we're going to pop those in as well. Overcooked bean sprouts, they're absolutely fine, but again, it just makes it seem quite liquidy. So we'll try and keep them as crunchy as possible by not overcooking them more than 12 minutes in total. So we'll pop those on in about 3.5 minutes time. And then the other thing I've got is a carrot. Now the only reason why I've saved this carrot is to show you how you can make your dinners a little bit more artistic than they might be now, and it's literally as easy as I'm going to show you now. The only thing I don't want you to do is overcook this carrot, because again it'll become quite watery and it'll disintegrate quite fast. So what we'll do is we'll keep stirring this around for a few more minutes. Just to recap, the rice cooked really quickly, so I've turned that off already, but it's keeping nice and warm on the heat that was already used on the hob. So don't worry about that too much, plus you don't want to burn anybody's mouth off. This is already cooking really, really well. So just to recap again, bit of oil, bit of garlic, bit of coriander, you can add salt if you want to. I haven't added salt to this particular one because we've added salt to our katsu curry sauce. So the next thing to go in now is our carrot. Again, if you want to put chopped carrot in, that's absolutely fine. The only reason why I'm not putting chopped carrot in is to show you a really easy way to make vegetables look a bit more Asian, I guess. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to take a peeler, I'm going to take my carrot, and I'm just literally going to peel the carrot to death, as it were. So that instead of having chopped carrot, keep turning the carrot as you go around. We're going to have these sort of carrot strips instead. Don't panic if you can't use all the carrots, not a problem. Save it for your kids' lunch boxes or your own if you like. Raw carrot is really good for you. It should be eaten as much as you possibly can in your lifestyle. I'm happy with that. Just leave a little carrot to the end, pop that on the side, and now we're going to pop in our bean sprouts. So again, I don't want this cooking any longer than about 5 more minutes, but just make sure that all of the oil is covering all of the vegetables that you put in. If you're adding mushrooms, just be wary, because mushrooms are very porous. So the mushrooms would now have soaked up most of the oil, which means that more of the dry heat from the bottom of the pan will be frying your vegetables, which is not a bad thing, but it does mean that they'll char a lot quicker than if they're in oil. I've had an escapee, excuse me. Whoop. And another one, doing well today. So can you see how the ribbon carrot just looks really pretty in the vegetables? And we're not going to overcook this too much at all. Alright, this will not take any more now than about 3.5 minutes. Hopefully I'm timing myself correctly. Have a little clock next to you if you're worried about it. But honestly, don't overdo this veg if you like it crunchy. Obviously, if you prefer soft veg, carry on, cook it for as long as you like. I just don't think it's nice with an Asian dish, but you decide for yourselves whatever you prefer. We've got lots of lovely colours in here. We've got red onion, red pepper, that peeled carrot, and these beautiful bean sprouts all mixed together. I'm going to leave that now for a second, and we'll start plating up. So let's get our plate. So if you join me over here when you're ready. We're going to start making some attractive shapes on our plate. Obviously, if you just want to plonk the rice on, not a problem, it's your choice. I'm actually going to today use the lid from the butter dish because it's a nice rectangular shape. So we'll bring our rice over now. Okay. You see how it's just a little bit more sticky together. This sort of rice is perfect for Thai dishes where you would add coconut milk and stuff, but we'll look at that another time. But I know some people prefer individual grains of rice. That's not a problem. Just as I said before, wash it through first to wash the extra starch off. I'm just going to fill this up. I'm going to make sure it's all filled up in the shape. You can use a cup if you want to make a mound of rice, or as I said, just plonk it on the plate. If you don't have time for that, not a problem. I'm just trying to make it pretty for my wifey. Okay, pat it down. Okay, wish me luck. Are you ready? Oh, well, I couldn't have done that any better if I tried. There we go. Put the lid back on the rice so I can come back to that in a minute. Okay, so join me at the vegetables again. One more stir. 20 more seconds, and then we're going to put that on the side. We're going to reheat our sauce very quickly just to pop on our rice. This is about the time you would check your chicken nuggets and chips or whatever you're doing for the kids, or for somebody else that doesn't want katsu curry, I guess. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. I don't think that needs any more than what it's already got, so I'm literally going to swap this around now, pop the sauce on to heat up, and then we'll get some sauce served on the rice. Then we'll start plating up. So I'm just going to ask my glamorous assistant now to back up a little bit so I can grab my tongs so I can start plating up. Very exciting. Okay, that's heated up already, that sauce. Hear it, and you can see it bubbling. Switch your heat off. Right. Let's get some sauce on the rice. Now, my lovely wife does like katsu sauce, so she's got quite a lot. But don't panic, if you don't want a lot, that's absolutely fine. Right, get the nuggets on for show. In fact, I'm going to bring them over here. So when you're placing your nuggets on, just think about how they would look presented. So I'm going to towel mine slightly. There we go. And we're going to put a bit of veg on. I want to bring the plate over because I can't carry this at the same time. Okay. And then just to make it look extra special, I did chop up some spring onion. You don't have to, but I think it just makes it look so pretty on top of there. And there you are, my dears. A chicken katsu curry made with your kids' chicken nuggets. There you go. One more look. Beautiful. Thank you very, very much for joining us at Dad's Do Dinner in about 30 minutes as well. Enjoy and let me know your feedback. Thank you.